All right, the Season 0 patch notes have dropped. There are some big winners, some big losers, and some just overall system changes I want to touch on, so let's go through these. If you want just a very Cliff Notes summary, you got it right here. Nerfs, Echo, Jinx, Yasuo. Very deserved, absolutely dominating at the top tier. These were far and away the best champions right now. 2x assists, double down, Juggernaut, Sidekick. I think Juggernaut and Sidekick are a little bit surprising. We can look more at it in detail, but I don't know that those are necessarily dominating the meta. I know Juggernaut, the nerfs were more around when you get your Fury break, which kind of makes sense, but Juggernaut was not dominating by any means. Ahri, Braum, Darius, Vi have been buffed, and Blitzcrank and Alawi have been adjusted. Now for Blitzcrank, I would imagine that basically means a buff. He was very weak. I would say he was bottom tier along with Braum. Alawi's kind of the opposite. Alawi was quite strong, so I'm interested to see what they've actually adjusted. Of course, we also have Teemo and Warwick coming. We have 2 new stages, combo trials, frame data, and the store is coming, so you could actually finally buy stuff now. Which, spoiler alert, I will actually be buying stuff. This might be the first time ever in any live service game I purchase a premium battle pass, or any battle pass. We had the amazing cinematic that came out today. This is talking more about Teemo, Warwick, combo trials, all that stuff. I'm not going to cover too much of that. I just want to cover the system changes, and I want to cover Darius and Braum because those are the 2 champions I am the most familiar with. So as for the core gameplay, you can take actions in midair after blocking attacks. So this is something that not everybody may have noticed, but sometimes you got kind of weirdly locked out of making actions in midair. This is mostly like a bug fix. Like, this wasn't really intended. So this more or less is about making sure that you're not locked out of actually doing anything anytime that you're in the air and you get hit by something. Now, this one I actually want to specifically bring up a video for. So throw invulnerability midair has been increased from 5 frames to 8 frames after blocking an attack. If you can't conceptualize this, I have a really easy example for you to look at. Okay, so I've recorded a combo here in offline mode, and we're just kind of gonna go through this.
Let's go!
So this is a very basic Braum starter combo. You're gonna push into the corner, and you're gonna access Unbreakable. All right, now I'm gonna save state. Okay, so now when I reload the state, I have a couple of options. I can either finish it out into a normal combo route, which is gonna look something like this with a tag launcher, do whatever you want. Now, instead of doing the full combo, you can actually do this. You do a tag launcher, they hit the ground, do a light punch to pop them up, and immediately jump up and throw them. And you can do that with Braum, you can do that with Darius, as I'll show in a second, you can do that with Yasuo, you can do that with Vi. There was a ton of champions you could do that with. There was so few frames of recovery, invincible recovery, when you do this air tag. Okay, and there's a lot you can do, like I'm showing here, right? I mean, you can go back into another tag launcher, you can knock them back down again, you could even put them into another reset from here. This is a very vulnerable position, and it was a little bit cheesy because you could tech or you could stop air rolling, basically. But it was hard to get out of, so it'll be interesting to see. I think this will still be possible with 8 frames of recovery, but it will definitely be harder. Opponents recovering from break 10 frames earlier, that's really important because a lot of games, basically what would happen is you would break and then you would be able to do a crazy meaty attack. You would be able to go all the way up to them and start your pressure before they would get up. It was very oppressive, very punishing. It was really hard to deal with. Air hurt boxes and air collision are more consistent. I really like this because Darius, if you know his air S2, which is kind of his spinning like guillotine slam, it was trash in the air. It would constantly whiff air to air. It would never work. It wasn't very good. So it's just about getting more consistent. It does mention Yasuo and Echo were the most affected, which I find kind of interesting, but it'll definitely increase consistency for any like spinning kind of hurt box moves. Retreating guard can no longer be performed by down back. You have to hold back. So this, apparently there was an option select that you could basically just always retreating guard. Yeah, they explained it. There's an option select where you could retreating guard by mashing the button. So now you actually have to manually do it. This as a change makes a lot of sense. You shouldn't be able to OS that and just do it indefinitely. Assist cooldown timer starts as soon as the assist champion leaves the screen. So this is another thing where it's like, I would almost have imagined that this would have been happening anyways, but apparently not. There was a 30 frame gap between when they would leave and when the assist timer would start. So this is a good change. That's, in my opinion, when it should start. It makes more sense visually. And it also says you can use their tag launcher now as your assist champion is visibly off screen, which is good because there was actually a few combos where I would try to tag launcher and it wouldn't work. It would just kind of of do the tag launcher, but the other champion wouldn't come out. Assist will now be available more often. That is dangerous, but we'll see exactly how that feels. After getting hit by a break or a get up attack, you can now perform action. So this was a weird one where sometimes you would like break in the air and you wouldn't be able to do anything. It's saying you couldn't perform parry or light. Again, it's just a bug. They're just fixing the bug. You should be able to perform actions. It was just eating inputs like crazy. Double down scaling. So this is confirmed a bug. I actually like this because this was crazy. Jinx's double down fireworks was TODing people from like round start. It was ridiculous. Fixed an issue where running inputs could disable inputs on landing. I don't think I ever really felt that. First quick tag of a match no longer allows you to block during the quick tag animation. I don't know that I ever saw that. Fixed an issue where performing some supers would cause projectiles to disappear. I never saw that either. All right, so this is just going into it a little bit more. Break is less advantageous when not performing a handshake tag. So this is more of the specifics. This is taking place, by the way, October 9th. This isn't actually in the October 7th patch. Meter gain has been reduced overall. So I like this a lot. I think that if you do a combo that's 16 seconds long, you're only getting 10% of meter gain value. It was just way too advantageous, especially for like Yasuo, where you could just do, and Ari was an abuser of this too. Super long combos that would end up being meter positive because of how long they would take. Bending meter now decreases meter gain. So again, this is a big thing where if you do a super in a combo and then you continue the combo, again, Ari is a big abuser of this. You just get the meter right back basically. Limit strike bonus meter gained from 40 to 25. So, you know, limit strike was one of those things where you kind of had to choose between doing like a really damaging punishing combo, or you would try to do something that would end in limit strike and maybe set up some Oki. I don't care so much about this. I mean, maybe it's just the champions that I play, but I feel like in Alpha Lab 2 it was all about getting to limit strikes so that you could actually get the hard knockdown, whereas in this one, you know, I didn't feel like everybody was doing limit strike every single time or anything like that. Handshake tag no longer prevents gray health from being accumulated. I didn't even know this. Oh yeah, mostly unknown trait. That's pretty crazy. I'm glad they fixed that. Juggernaut break meter on round start 100% to 75%. This is a huge nerf to Juggernaut. Like one of the biggest things about Juggernaut was that you could break right away. Basically, if you hit a combo, you could just break into TOD, but now they don't want you to do that. I'm kind of interested exactly in why they wanted to do this. I don't feel like Juggernaut was oppressive, but it was kind of annoying having to break every single round. But this to me almost seems like they don't want Juggernaut to be a valid competitive option. I don't think it needed this nerf. This feels like something that feels good to play against versus like actual competitive viability. Performing a double down super results in the second super dealing less damage. So then we just have double down nerf. We have sidekick nerf, very similar to double down. Double down and 2x assists. Cooldown nerf, so 2x assist, basically it would not put it on the normal assist cooldown, now it does. And sidekick, you can't do super multiple times per one combo, which, you know, I don't think people are really using sidekick, so this probably felt bad to play against, but it's not like I really saw this all that much. All right, so before we even touch on Darius, this guy got some nerfs. Okay, this is, I want to say, because like even Blitzcrank was adjusted, he had way less text. Alawi was adjusted, way less text. This guy needed some nerfs, clearly. And keep in mind, this is the second round of nerfs he's getting. So, I mean, I feel justified in my hatred of Yasuo. Like, he was far and away the best champion. He just was way too strong. So let's look at Braum, who was buffed. We're giving Braum some consistent improvements on Stand Behind Me. This is extremely needed. Stand Behind Me is when he raises the shield. Basically, the only way to play neutral in Braum against some characters is to just raise the shield and walk forward and to wait for your assist to actually hit them. And the problem with that is some characters, because of the way that the shield hurt box pushed in front of them, some characters could just hit behind the shield and hit the assist character. It was super annoying, happened all the time. So they're fixing that, which is really nice. It defends a larger area. Stand Behind Me assist is whatever. That's the worst assist in the game if you're using that. I don't know why. His 2H hitbox height has been increased to match the animation. That's good, I guess. Again, 2H. It's more of a combo tool than like an anti-air tool. So hopefully that'll make it easier to combo into jump charged H, but we'll see. His Poro throw now OTGs on charged in addition to uncharged. So a big combo that he had was you could do the step kicks into uncharged Poro throw, which would knock him off the ground, and then you could do standing medium into 2H. But I'm not sure how you're gonna OTG with charged. I'll be interested to see if anybody can find a combo with that. Glacial Breaker and Winter's Ride causes a longer knockdown when it hits an assist or when Braum is tagged out as we connect. So this one specifically, was a huge problem. So a big thing that you would do is you would do S2, S2, which would give him unbreakable, and then you would call in your assist and you could continue the combo. But if you called in your assist too early, the combo would drop and he wouldn't get unbreakable, and that was devastating. And it was super annoying, and it was one of those things that you could play around. Like, it was pretty easy to avoid doing that in certain cases, but in some cases it just happened, and it was very frustrating, and I don't think there was any reason for it to exist. And then this one causes a longer knockdown when it increases. So they talk about this here. Battering Ram Glacial Breaker adjusted to make happy birthdays more consistent. Champions will still fall out occasionally, but it'll make it happen less often. So I don't want to take complete credit for this, but if you look at my Twitter, I did specifically tag Apology Man in this tweet, and this is exactly what he is talking about. Basically, okay, if Braum hits two people, hugely advantageous situation for Braum here. Okay, I'm gonna hit them both and ride them into the wall. It falls out, and it falls out because this person is on the ground blocking him. And that happened very consistently. If it ever hit two people, it would not stretch to that range. And I thought potentially that was not intended. So that's why I reported it as a bug. So yeah, that was definitely massively annoying. And then the last Braum bug fix, Glacial Breaker into Winter's Ride are no longer classified as high attacks in training mode. I did not know this. I have never seen this ever. Okay, so great buffs overall for Braum. A couple of bug changes to make him more consistent. This is huge, the stand behind me. I'll need to see how this feels, but walking up with shield and using assist is going to be much more effective now. The 2H2H, I'm going to need to see how this feels. I have no idea how this combo is going to work. And then everything else, increasing his hitbox. And I completely agree with this, by the way. Braum has a lot of recovery on his normals. If you decide to use his big buttons, we want to make sure it properly stuffs an opponent running at you. So he should have recovery. Braum feels like a very strong, weighty character, but you should have a lot of advantage. And if you're swinging and you're actually hitting them, it felt like a lot of his normals were just getting stuffed, and it was really annoying. All right, so moving on to Darius. Darius is in a good spot, so we're not making drastic changes. We're slightly buffing his mobility and damage, improving his backdash speed, and increasing bleed damage from normals. I completely agree with this. I think Darius was like perfectly upper mid tier. He was completely viable. I think he was much stronger if you played him with a champion like Echo or Yasuo, somebody who could make use of their own neutral and then tag him in when you wanted to do big damage. I think he has very advantageous neutral against some people, but the top tiers like Echo and Yasuo, he did struggle against them. Backdash speed is increased. I don't know that he even needed this. This surprises me a lot. Maybe this is part of him like not being a big body or whatever, but he didn't feel like he was that bad or that slow compared to like how big his normals are. So this is a nice buff, but I almost don't feel like he needed this. Bleed damage on normals has been increased. I mean, I guess this is true. Light, medium, heavy bleed on block string was pretty negligible. You really needed to apply it with S2. But yeah, I guess again, we'll see how that looks. And then after that, just bug fixes. So Salted Earth, which is his projectile, it actually fades out now. That's good. This never confused me, but I can see how that would be better. His ultimate hit stop has been reduced when connecting with assist. So again, this is one of those things where it's just like a quality of life thing. So if he used his ultimate and he hit an assist character, he would just like float in the air for a long time, and it was super annoying. S1 into heavy no longer grants extra meter on counter hit. I did not even know that was a thing. And his assist now pushes opponent back if you handshake tag to Darius on the first frame it connects. I truly don't even know what this is saying. Pushes opponent back if you tag to Darius on the first frame it connects. So maybe it doesn't wall bounce. I'll be interested to see what that means. Maybe wall bounce. Other than that, obviously we have Warwick and Teemo, who are both being added. I love this little Wolf is Among Us quote. Quality of life updates, assist meter visuals updated. That's nice. You know what? The rest of this you can read. The bug fixes. So this is just a beat. There was a Blitzcrank Infinite where you could just eject somebody and then continuously air command throw them, which was pretty funny. Screen no longer repeatedly flashes when stave states overlap. I never saw that. Bots in training mode perform actions. I never saw that. Fixed issue where training bots were not properly blocking assists. I never saw that either. So I mean, I use training mode a lot and I never saw any of this. So these were pretty small issues. And then I guess the last thing to mention, you know, storing cosmetics. So finally, you know, this is a free-to-play game. They got to monetize it somehow. Battle Pass is coming. If you like the game, if you enjoy it, support it with your wallet if you're able to. That's how they know if they're doing a good job in a way. And I definitely think they're doing a good job. So I will be doing that. All right, that's about it. A lot of these I'm going to have to see exactly how they feel, but that's a general rundown on the changes. If you have any comments, let me know. Thanks for watching.